Hello and welcome to Lessons Learned, a periodic series of conversations with friends, partners, students, and supporters of Benjamin Franklin Institute of Technology. I am Aisha Francis, the CEO of the college, and I'm so happy to have with us today the CEO and founder of MentorWorks Education Capital, Karthik Krishnan. Karthik, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure.
Absolutely. Well, I would like you to start by giving you the floor. We know that financing education is a huge hot topic right now in public conversation, and you have created a unique solution to the challenge, the perennial challenge of how to afford post-secondary education. So I'd love to give you the space to talk about the product of income sharing agreements and also your company, MentorWorks Education Capital, with whom Benjamin Franklin Institute partners. So our income sharing agreement is with MentorWorks Education Capital, and we will get into all of that a little bit later as the conversation goes on. But first, Karthik, tell us about MentorWorks and what an income share agreement is.
Absolutely. So just a bit of a philosophy behind MentorWorks. My background is higher education. I'm a professor myself, and I've taught at state schools, I've taught at private schools, college students. And, the real motivator certainly for me was seeing students in my classroom having issues as a result of them having debt burdens and financial issues. MentorWorks was founded with the philosophy of whether we can create a system that can work for the student, and whether we can create a financing system that uh, espouses on behalf of the student. And what we kind of came up with is this notion that, well, if you're getting an education and you're taking fixed obligations like a loan, it may work in many contexts, but in many cases it may not, because you're kind of getting an education with outcomes that you're only going to observe after some time. Whereas, your obligations are fixed, you're kind of signing up to this fixed obligation. And we wanted to make obligations of the student contingent on success. And that's what the primary driver behind an income share agreement is. It's essentially an income contingent payment model. What that means is you only pay back when you have a job that's sufficient enough to give you a good living wage. And, you know, it makes it so that when a well-designed ISA makes your payment affordable, makes it flexible based on income, so that when a student is unable to make those payments, so when they don't have a job, when they lose their job, essentially creates a protection mechanism for the student. And so in our ISAs, if you make income below a certain minimum level, you don't pay anything. And that's not a default, that's not a delinquency, and it doesn't affect your credit. If, on the other hand, you do say it really well, we cap the total payments so that you don't pay too much. And we create our income-based repayments in such a way that you pay a percentage of your income for a certain amount of time up to that maximum cap. So that's really at the heart of it, what an income share agreement is. But we at MentorWorks have a fund and support philosophy, which goes one step further and says, if we are going to fund a student, we are taking a shared responsibility for that student's success. And we work with that student. We have a whole career support platform called the Talent Accelerator platform. It's designed in a way to ensure that a student gets the resources that they need. So a lot of our students are low income students who came from backgrounds where they didn't have the financial capital to get an education. At the same
Right.
time, they did not have the social capital to seek advice, to get a family member or a friend on the phone to get them in the door to a job or an interview. And that's the role that we have taken on. And we have taken that on voluntarily because we are a mission oriented organization. We want to see our students succeed. We have tied our fate with the students' outcomes, and we want to make sure that our students get a good job in the field that they have chosen to get an education in. So yeah, happy to answer more questions about that. But our fundamental philosophy is that of funding a student with flexible financing, making sure they only pay when they have a good job that they want, and then help them get that job.
Well, thank you for that explanation. I think this is a financial product that requires people to think about education funding differently. And it really is, from my perspective, a financial literacy conversation. And this is Financial Literacy Month, which is why we're taping in April, even though we might post in May. We're taping this in April as part of Financial Literacy Month. And so I'd love to get an understanding about, the mentoring, the fund and support aspect of this you talked about. Does any of the support, I know some of it with the Talent Accelerator program focuses on the career access and network building to help ensure that students who take out an ISA get that job that they're training for. Are there financial literacy components of your approach to MentorWorks approach to an ISA?
Absolutely, and that's a great point. My background is I'm a finance professor, and it's really important for somebody to understand their obligations, understand what they're getting into, and also to think about long-term wealth building. I got this education, I have these obligations, but I also have to build long-term wealth for me to support a family when I'm kind of in that state and so on. So to that end, we've actually built out a financial literacy module, which is actually freely available. So we will be launching that in a few weeks.
Wonderful.
And yeah, it's a great timing for us to, I think it's really important. The well-being of an individual is certainly the getting a job, but also financial well-being, right? This module addresses questions of, well, how do you think about wealth building? How do you think about debt, taking on debt? What are the costs of taking on certain kinds of debt? How you should think about repayment or things like that. And in general, also think about, things like building your credit history, how important that is for, as you go further in your life and decide you want, you want to buy a home or you want to buy a car or whatever it is, how to manage risks of things that can affect your credit history adversely, how to think about beforehand, how to, what kind of credit you should be applying for, when you should be applying for credit, as well as, as your income grows, what kind of investing strategies make sense, things like dollar cost averaging and so on. But at the end of the day, it's really meant for a student to consider where they are right now, what their priority should be. But as they go through their life, how their priorities should also change over time. And it's really a holistic and free resource for anybody to access. And we are doing this because it's we are a financial company partly, but also the support aspect goes beyond just get a job and do your thing. It's also how to build, how to grow, how to build your wealth, how to protect yourself from issues you can face if you make certain types of financial decisions. So all of it is kind of built into this.
And I think that for Benjamin Franklin Institute of Technology, we have for about 2 years been a partner with MentorWorks and chose to offer this as another option, another financial option, right? Other than self-pay, loans, scholarships, and Pell. We are an institution that for the vast majority of our students are Pell eligible. The household income of students on an average is $23,800. And we're really looking to be as creative as possible in offering options that allow students to attend college in ways that are more affordable on the back end, although ideally we would have enough scholarships to cover everyone, but we don't yet. And I think the fact that there's 6 or 7 of our programs that are eligible. I think the last thing that I'll ask, Karthik, is, what do you say to people who don't have a financial advisor, have never heard of an ISA, and are wary? In 60 seconds or less, what are the pros of this type of program? Although, of course, everyone needs to think about that for themselves. And again, you mentioned that there's calculators that allow people to compare. But generally speaking, for this industry, what is it that an ISA offers, right? Why were they created in the first place? That is different and unique and makes education more accessible.
Absolutely. So first of all, I would say this to your point, Aisha, that we all absolutely want a student to take grants first, take really cheap financing option from the federal government first. That's important. We tell our students that, look, if you have better options, take it. And ISA becomes important when you have exhausted all those options. But here are a few kind of high points that highlights I'll say about ISAs. One, if you feel as a student that your payments should contain an element of pay on success, yeah, maybe I paid something, but I'd like to kind of make sure that the employment I get, the outcomes I get, are consistent with my expectation. This is an ISA allows you to do that because you only pay once you make a minimum level of income, and the payment is contingent on income. I think the other piece of this is if you're unable to pay, if you're more concerned about that scenario where you're concerned that your income may not be sufficient, when you take on a loan, there's interest accrual. You pay interest on interest, and it adds up to the principal, right? That's not the case with ISAs. And particularly when people are thinking about why ISAs are different from loans, I think to think about it in this way is useful. Income share agreements at the end of the day may, fix the percentage of income that you're paying. Whereas in a loan, as your income dips, as your income goes down, you are paying a bigger and bigger share of your income as part of a loan. So in effect, an ISA becomes a lot more progressive, especially when a student needs that progressive support than a loan. So, and the question is, well, what if the student does really well? Then you need to look at the ISA, how it's designed, what its features are, what the terms are, and if those terms seem right to you, if those terms seem appropriate enough for the kind of protection you're getting. So at the end of the day, it's really a way for you to get somebody to signal to you that this is a worthwhile program. It's an obligation somebody's taking, saying, I'm tying my outcomes to your outcomes. And it's a signal to the student that, I believe, which we believe, by the way, Benjamin Franklin has some fantastic programs. We believe in those programs, and we're willing to work with that for that reason.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the creativity of you and your team as you all continue to refine this program. We are always happy to be able to rely on you all and sort of tap your network on behalf of the students at Benjamin Franklin Institute of Technology. And thank you for being part of Lessons Learned today.
Thank you for having me, and it's been a real pleasure. Thank you.